Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories. A 62-year-old mom finally loses over 110 pounds after a lifetime of being heavy. And instead of support, her daughters and granddaughters start making snide comments, taking digs at her food, and even mocking how she looks now. Is this just jealousy, or did she somehow raise mean girls without realizing it? I lost over 100 pounds, and now my daughters and granddaughter resent me. Besides gaining the weight back, how can I fix the relationship? I'm a 62-year-old woman. I have two daughters. One is 44, the other is 38, and a 22-year-old granddaughter. I've known them their whole lives. I always thought we had a good relationship. Now I'm not so sure. I keep asking myself, is it me, or did I raise mean girls? Over the past 2 years, I've worked really hard and lost over 110 pounds. I watched what I ate. High protein, low carbs, no sugar, low calorie, with a few treats here and there. I did a lot of walking and workouts. I also started playing pickleball last summer. I've been heavy my whole life, and 2 years ago, I weighed 305 pounds. Now I'm the smallest I've been since my 20s. My oldest daughter and my granddaughter hadn't seen me in person since the summer, and at Christmas they were shocked by how I looked. I'd lost 40 pounds since July when I added pickleball to my routine. I overheard them talking, and what they said really hurt. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was in the bathroom, and they were in the hallway. The things they said brought me to tears. They said I look like a deflating balloon and that soon I won't want to be seen with them. That made me wonder, is that how they felt about me when I was so much bigger? I have never given them unsolicited diet advice. I don't make comments about their weight. They're my girls. I wouldn't say hurtful things to them. I did mention that I had a bag of clothes, work stuff, business casual things I wore as I went down in sizes, if they wanted to look through it before I donated it. I'm just a couple of sizes smaller than two of them, and about the same size as the third. I still have 40 pounds to go before I hit my goal. I didn't push it. I just said the stuff was in their father's closet. My late husband's closet. My granddaughter said she didn't want to wear grandma clothes. Fair enough. I wouldn't want to wear the leggings and crop tops that women in their 20s wear. But the way they all looked at each other and snickered is what got to me. My granddaughter said I look more wrinkly now that I've lost weight, and during dinner, when I only took smaller portions and skipped the sweets, my oldest, who I hadn't seen in a few months, said in this kind of snarky tone, "Isn't our food good enough for you anymore? Too much fat?" I told her I have to be careful so I can keep losing and keep the weight off. The comments kept coming from all three of them. Things like, "Who wants pie? I'm sure you won't want any. You aren't greedy like us." I did have a small slice of the pumpkin pie my granddaughter made. It's my favorite. And then after the dishes were done, my daughter laughed and said, "Are you gonna go walk off the 200 calories you ate at dinner or hang around us a while?" My granddaughter laughed and said, "I doubt it was 200, more like 60. For context, I had a small slice of ham my 38-year-old daughter made, and a bit of prime rib my 44-year-old daughter made, a serving of sautéed green beans that I made. Not the green bean casserole my 40-year-old daughter-in-law made and seemed irritated that I didn't eat. Half of a baked potato, and a small Hawaiian roll. I didn't turn anything down. I just didn't choose it from the buffet. I didn't think I was going to be judged. When everyone left, I had a good cry. I felt like I'd been bullied by a group of mean girls. I've read that people who lose weight aren't treated the same by friends and coworkers, and I know I'm treated differently at this weight than I was at 300 by service people and at the doctor's office. But I didn't expect it from my girls, my own family. How can I fix this? Do I bring it up with them as a group, talk to them individually, or just ignore it and hope it stops? A lot of people in the comments think the daughters and granddaughter are just salty about her progress. They say she put in the hard work, and now her family is trying to police her body and her plate. The advice is to either call out the snark every time it happens, or put some distance between herself and them if they keep it up. Many commenters also congratulate her on the huge weight loss and say she should not even think about gaining it back just to make anyone else comfortable. They describe the daughters and granddaughter as insecure and jealous, and they strongly recommend firm boundaries. No more tolerating comments about her body or what she eats, the same way she would never make them feel bad about their weight. Some people share similar experiences of being the smaller one in a heavier family and getting constant remarks, like that's somehow okay. What worked for them was being very direct, saying things like, "I'm not comfortable with you commenting on my body. Please stop with the negative comments. If you can't be kind, just be quiet." They say that kind of clear line in the sand actually changed the behavior. Others suggest a simple tactic whenever a rude joke or jab is made. Calmly ask, "What prompted you to say something so hurtful?" Or, "Can you explain what you meant by that?" The idea is to make the daughters and granddaughters sit with their own words instead of letting the digs slide. Commenters believe that if the mom consistently does this, they'll be forced to recognize how damaging their behavior is to the relationship. What do you think is really going on here? Is this jealousy, insecurity, or something deeper in the family dynamic? If you were in this mom's shoes, how would you respond to those comments at the next family gathering? Let me know your thoughts and what advice you'd give her down in the comments. It's a quiet night in, you've got a bad cold, and you just say, "I'm not in the mood tonight." A few hours later, there's screaming, stuff getting broken, and a terrifying moment in the car where you both could have died. When no turns into total chaos, what are you even supposed to do next? My 24-year-old girlfriend lost it when I said no to sex. I'm 24. My now ex-girlfriend is 24 too, and we were together for almost 2 years. She completely lost it, and I'm still trying to understand what even happened. I ended up breaking up with her after that night. We were just hanging out like usual, watching Netflix, just chilling. But I was exhausted. Mentally, physically, everything. I had a bad cold. I'd been coughing nonstop for days, my lungs hurt, I had no energy. I actually told her not to come over because I didn't want her to catch it. She insisted, said she loved me and didn't care, so I let her come over. We're watching our show, relaxing, and she starts kissing me and trying to initiate sex. I tell her I'm not in the mood tonight. The second I said that, her whole vibe changed. She starts saying stuff like, "You don't love me. You don't want me. Are you seeing someone else?" I kept telling her I was just sick and drained. Then she starts crying. I tried to comfort her, but it turned into full-on accusations. She starts saying I'm cheating. Then she starts insulting me, asking if I'm gay. Then she says her ex would never do this to her. I stayed calm until she said something that completely crossed the line. She said she was really craving sex and asked if I could go ask my roommate to sleep with her. That's when I snapped. I told her to get the fuck out of my house. She started crying harder, saying no. I offered to get her an Uber. She refused and said, "Please just take me home." I said fine because I just wanted this over with. The drive was a nightmare. She starts screaming. Then she opens the door while I'm driving, going like 30 miles an hour. My heart dropped. She's mentioned in the past trying to hurt herself. I told her I wasn't moving the car until she closed the door. She finally did. Then she started wrecking my car. First, she ripped down the passenger side sun visor, the one with the mirror and flap, just broke the whole thing off. Then she reached for my rearview mirror, the one in the middle of the windshield. That one has a wire going through the roof. She ripped it off and tore my headliner. Then she grabbed my steering wheel while I was driving. I had to slam on the brakes and pull over. I thought she was gonna kill us both. I told her to get the fuck out. She finally got out. I stayed close by to make sure she got into her building safely, then I left. I blocked her on everything. 2 days later, I wake up to like 100 missed calls from unknown numbers. It was her. She kept blowing up my phone using random numbers. I finally picked up once and told her to stop, that this is not okay. Next morning, 8 in the morning, I hear knocking on the door. My roommate didn't know what happened, so he let her in. I wake up and she's in my room. I told her to leave. She said she walked to my place. I called her an Uber. She got home. Now I'm paranoid. I feel like she's gonna show up again. She damaged my car, opened the door while I was driving, grabbed my wheel, ripped down my mirror, tore my roof, broke my sun visor. She won't respect boundaries. I'm completely done with her. I just don't know what to do next. Do I get a restraining order? Do I call the police? Is this actually serious, or am I overreacting? Any advice would help. The top comments are all focused on how serious this actually is, especially the car incident and all the boundary violations. One of the highest rated replies says he absolutely should call the police. Not necessarily to get her thrown in jail right away, but to create an official report. That way, he has documentation for insurance to repair the damage to his car, and a solid foundation if he needs a restraining order later. Another commenter points out how wild her behavior was even before the car, asking him to get his roommate to sleep with her because he was too sick for sex. They say ending the relationship was the right move. They also share their own story about an ex who grabbed the steering wheel while they were driving at highway speeds, and they just don't understand how someone can suddenly seem to have a death wish and try to take someone else with them. A third top comment warns him to think ahead. Call the police and file a domestic incident report. Maybe even look into an order of protection. Not necessarily to punish her, but to protect himself. Their concern is that someone acting like this might flip the script later. Start calling the police on him, making things up, and if he doesn't already have a paper trail of her behavior, he could end up in serious trouble. What do you think he should do now? Is this the point where you get the police and the courts involved? Or is there another way you'd handle someone who crosses these lines? Let me know your thoughts, and if you've ever dealt with something similar, share your story in the comments. Imagine realizing the person you built a family with isn't actually on your side. Right when you're at your most vulnerable, do you stay and fight for that perfect life you imagined? Or finally walk away and start over from scratch? Today's update is about a mom who had to make that choice. Update: caught my husband texting his ex while I was pregnant. What's the best way to move forward? I wanted to give an update on my previous post from a year ago. The link to the original post is below. I went back and read that original post, and it was honestly really eye-opening. It made me realize how low my self-esteem was and how codependent I'd been on him for so long. So after I found out he had emotionally cheated on me, I separated from him because I was so full of anger and resentment. We were separated for 2 months. He begged me to get back together, and at the time, I just couldn't stand feeling alone. The idea of our daughter growing up with separated parents made me feel awful, so I got back with him, but only on the condition that he had to go to therapy. This was around April 2025. But like any relationship stuck in a toxic cycle, he changed just enough at the beginning to keep me happy, and then, once he got comfortable again, he stopped putting in the effort. He went to 3 therapy sessions and then never went back, saying the therapist was too far from where we lived. To give more context, the cheating wasn't the only issue in our relationship. We fought constantly because we both had terrible communication skills, and neither of us felt heard or understood. From my side, I felt like he had emotionally detached from me since my pregnancy, and his avoidant attachment style throughout our relationship really affected me and left me feeling very isolated. He was never emotionally or physically affectionate with me, and according to him, the only way he showed he cared was by helping with household chores. The rest of 2025 was this mix of us having small moments of reconnection that would last at most 3 days. And then we'd end up in huge arguments that left us shattered for weeks. And the whole time, I always had his affair in the back of my mind and felt like I couldn't trust him. Then, in July 2025, I got a really great job, and my focus shifted to that. I started feeling appreciated at work and was surrounded by this whole team of dynamic people who made me want to be a better version of myself. They rooted for me and praised me for doing a good job. I felt validated again and worthy. I guess my job kind of saved my low self-esteem and gave me perspective on my own self-worth. It also let me compare my husband to the people I was working with. And personality-wise, they felt way more aligned with me than my husband ever was. On top of that, my husband had always wanted to work at this company before, but he never got in. So when I got the job, it felt like he was only mildly happy for me. He would often try to find flaws in the company and talk badly about it instead of just being happy for me in this new chapter of my life. That really put me off. But because I was so focused on my new job, I think I pushed aside all the negative feelings I had about my relationship and buried my intuition so I could do well in this new role, instead of getting sidetracked by relationship issues. At that point, I was tired of constantly having my relationship problems overshadow anything good in my life. I also really badly wanted to gaslight myself into believing everything was going to work out, and that I'd have the perfect life I hoped for if I just powered through the negatives. We were about to buy a house together and everything. But in November 2025, we moved into his parents' house because we had to leave our apartment. It was being sold by the landlord. I originally wanted to rent somewhere else in the meantime instead of moving in with his parents. But he made me feel really guilty for wanting to spend money on rent when we could live with his family until we bought a house. I felt like I had no choice and no control over the situation, because he said he wouldn't contribute toward rent if we rented a place. We fought a lot over this, and I felt like I wasn't being heard. It got so bad that I started having panic attacks at work. At that point, work felt like my happy escape, and I didn't want to go home and spend time with my husband. But because I was easily manipulated and wanted to avoid conflict, I agreed to stay with his parents. That ended up being a blessing in disguise. A week into living at his parents' house, we were both stressed one day because our daughter was crying and nothing we did would calm her down. I asked him to help me instead of just watching me try everything, and he replied with a "fuck off" and stormed into the kitchen where his mom was. I followed him into the kitchen to tell him, very calmly by the way, not to talk to me like that. At that point, his mom got involved and defended him, and it turned into this 2-against-1 circus. They both started saying what they really thought of me, and it wasn't pretty. The whole time, my daughter was on my hip, crying. If all the previous red flags weren't clear enough, this one really hit me in the face. I left that day and have filed for divorce since. He's been trying to get back with me ever since, but at this point, that horrible feeling of isolation and dread from the divorce still feels 1,000 times better than being with him. In a way, I'm relieved and honestly so excited to start reconnecting with myself again and living a life where my relationship issues aren't constantly overshadowing everything. But I'm also really sad because I'm grieving the family life I wished I had and the life partner I thought he would be. I definitely focused on his potential instead of seeing him for who he actually was. Hopefully, in another year, I can come back with a positive update about how my life has turned out post-divorce. But for now, I just have to get through each moment, one day at a time. The top comments are overwhelmingly supportive of OP's decision and her new path. One of the highest-rated replies praises her for finally choosing herself and stepping out of a situation that was dragging her down. They point out that now she can focus on being the best mom she can be to her daughter. without the constant weight of a toxic relationship, and that while life will still have challenges, her future is now wide open with possibilities. OP herself chimed in to thank everyone for their encouragement. She admitted that it's really easy to spiral and doubt whether she can make it on her own, and that this period feels enormous and overwhelming. But reading all the supportive messages has helped her believe in herself more and remember that the hardest part is temporary, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. Another commenter simply celebrated the update, calling it a happy ending and congratulating OP on where she's gotten to so far. What do you think about OP's decision and that turning point at her in-laws' house? Was that the moment you would have left too? Or would you have tried something different earlier? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more updates like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. A partner walks away from a secure, high-paying job to chase a dream business that just isn't working, refuses full-time childcare, and then suddenly starts demanding marriage for security, while intimacy basically disappears. One person's starting to feel more like a walking wallet than a loved partner. Is this just a rough patch, or a sign that they're fundamentally not a good match? I'm a 35-year-old guy, and I feel like a cash cow for my 38-year-old girlfriend. She quit her job, refuses full-time childcare, is demanding marriage for security, and has pulled away from intimacy. I'm 35, and I really need an outside perspective because my resentment is getting close to a breaking point. We've been together for 6 years, and we have 2 toddlers, they're 2 and 4. We live in Germany, so it's not that unusual that we're not married. The first big issue is money and careers. My girlfriend is 38, and she used to have a secure, high-paying government job. She decided to quit that and open a kind of hobby shop focused on coaching and spirituality. I supported her in doing this, but it's just not going well. The business isn't gaining traction. I thought she'd be happy because she was finally doing her dream, but instead, she's stressed and angry. Right now, I'm the one paying for everything, and we're at the point where we'd have to seriously downgrade our lifestyle to keep this going. Then there's the childcare problem. Even though her business is struggling and she actually needs more time to work on it, she refuses to send our kids to a normal kindergarten with regular hours. She insisted on a private one that closes at 2 in the afternoon. That creates this loop. She says she can't work enough to fix her business because the kids are home so early. Then she blames me for not doing childcare 50-50, even though I'm working a full-time job to support us. She says she does much more than I do, but I take over as soon as I'm done with work. I feel like I'm burning the candle at both ends. Next is the marriage pressure. Out of nowhere, she's suddenly pushing hard for us to get married. She openly says she's realizing she's not financially secure for the future because of her career change, and she wants the security of marriage. To me, it feels transactional, not like a natural romantic step. She wants me to be grateful for the situation, but I just feel trapped. On top of all the financial and logistical stress, there's the intimacy issue. Our sex life is basically dead. Since our second child was born, we've had sex twice in the last year. I feel like she's not attracted to me anymore and just sees me as a provider, like I'm just there to fund her lifestyle choices. I feel used, I feel like she's entitled, and I feel unappreciated. I'm really hesitant to marry someone when the relationship feels this unbalanced. I'm wondering if anyone has dealt with a partner who blocks their own work time, like with the 2 in the afternoon pickup, and then blames you for not being supportive enough. We are seeing a couples therapist. It helps a bit, but I feel like I can't keep carrying this imbalance in the relationship. The therapist seems to think I'm the stereotypical only cares about work guy. Even though I cook about 95% of our dinners, do the grocery shopping, and take care of the kids as much as I possibly can. Thank you. Too long, didn't read. My girlfriend quit a high-paying job for a failing hobby business. She insists on limited childcare with a 2 in the afternoon pickup, then complains she can't work and that I don't do 50-50. Now she's demanding marriage for financial security, while our sex life is basically dead. I feel used. Update 1. Thanks for the support and all the comments. Unfortunately, I tried to set a boundary yesterday about the childcare situation, and she stormed off with the kids to her mom's house. I'm trying not to contact her or apologize, but it's hard. P.S. I use Gemini to restructure my text into categories, but everything else is authentic. People on Reddit were very blunt about what they thought he should do next in a practical sense. A lot of them said the obvious structural solution is that the kids should go to a regular daycare with normal hours, and she should either go back to her secure, well-paying government job or at least find something stable. Many warned him not to get married under these conditions unless she's willing to face the financial reality and actually make changes. Others focused on how he could use couples therapy in a more effective way. One highly upvoted commenter suggested that in the next session, he should clearly lay out 3 points. First, that they simply cannot afford to keep living on only his income. Second, that his mental and physical health are suffering because of the financial stress. And third, that they need to make fixing their financial situation the top priority and use therapy specifically as a place to problem solve together. If marriage comes up, they said he should calmly explain that he can't make her financially secure through marriage when he himself isn't financially secure. They also said he should tell the therapist directly what he needs from them. Structure and guidance for the hard conversations they can't have productively at home. There were also people pointing out the emotional dynamic. Some said she was showing a lot of red flags. Quitting a stable job without a safety net, insisting on limited childcare that cuts into her own work time, demanding marriage explicitly for financial security, and letting intimacy die while expecting him to pay for everything. To them, that made the relationship feel more like a transaction than a romance, and they warned that you don't demand marriage like it's a business contract. What do you think about this situation? Is this just a couple going through a tough phase with money and parenting, or are these deeper incompatibilities and red flags he really shouldn't ignore? If you were in his shoes, what would you do about the childcare, the finances, and this sudden push for marriage? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.